Every Thursday for 2 years, my husband kissed me on the cheek and told me he was having lunch with his mama. I packed his leftovers sometimes, sent her a pie at Christmas, asked him every single week how she was doing. And every single week, he looked me in the eye and lied. Not about lunch, about everything. And what I found when I finally pulled that first bank statement, what I found in the numbers that man thought I would never look at, changed 31 years of marriage into the most expensive mistake he ever made. Because he forgot one thing. He married a woman who spent 34 years reading financial documents for a living. Every number tells a story, and his told me everything. My name is Sandra Lynn Caldwell. I am 64 years old. I was born and raised right here in Shreveport, Louisiana, where the summers are long and brutal and the sweet tea is cold, and everybody knows everybody's grandmother by her first name. I worked as a licensed tax preparer for 34 years, started at H&R Block fresh out of community college, built my own practice by the time I was 38. At my peak, I was filing returns for over 400 clients every single year. Business owners, retirees, young families, estates. I have seen every version of a financial life a human being can construct.
I know what honest money looks like, and I know what hidden money looks like. I know the difference between an oversight and a pattern, between a mistake and a plan. The problem for my husband, Bobby, was that he knew I was good at my job. He just forgot that good meant I would eventually come for his numbers too. Let me tell you about Bobby first, because you need to understand who I thought I married before you can understand what it meant to find out who I actually did. Bobby Ray Caldwell was 6'1", with a laugh that started in his belly and ended with tears running down his face. He coached Little League for 12 years, sang in the church choir every third Sunday, made the best smothered pork chops in Caddo Parish, and served them to anyone who showed up at his door. We met at a crawfish boil in the summer of 1989. He spilled his drink on my white blouse and apologized so thoroughly and for so long that by the time he was done, I had already decided to forgive him.
That was Bobby. He could talk his way in and out of anything. I should have paid more attention to the out of anything part. We built a life together. A good one. Real and solid and full. 2 sons, Tyler and Cody. A house on Millicent Drive with a porch swing I picked out myself. 31 years of Thursday night dinners and Sunday morning church. And the particular comfort of knowing exactly who is lying next to you in the dark. Or thinking you know. That is the part that still gets me. Not the betrayal itself. The 31 years of certainty that turned out to be wrong. Now, Bobby's mother is a woman named Beverly Caldwell, 73 years old, sharp as a tack. Silver hair, good posture, always has a peppermint in her purse. I loved that woman. Genuinely. I brought her groceries when her hip was bad. Drove her to her cardiologist appointments when Bobby was traveling for work. sat with her through her husband's final illness back in 2017.
She called me daughter. She called me daughter. And the whole time she was sitting across from my husband at Patsy's Cafe on Commerce Street every single Thursday, helping him structure the financial architecture of my destruction. I want you to hold that. A woman who called me daughter, who looked me in the eye at Christmas dinner, who held my hand at Tyler's wedding. Every Thursday. For 2 years. The thing that started it all was so small I almost missed it. January. Tax season. I was pulling together our joint return, which I had done every year for 31 years because who better than me, right? And I noticed something. Bobby's consulting income was down. Not dramatically. Not in a way that would alarm most people. But I am not most people. Down 19% from the previous year, with no corresponding reduction in his business expenses. Now, in tax work, there is a phrase we use. Unexplained variance. It means the numbers do not match the story being told. An unexplained variance in a personal return is one of 3 things: an error, an oversight, or a lie. I asked Bobby about it casually over dinner. He said the consulting market had been slow. Said a couple of big clients had pulled back. He shrugged. Went back to his pork chops. And I wrote it down. I have been writing things down since 1987. It is a habit Bobby never once thought to worry about. Over the next 3 weeks, I pulled everything I could access. Our joint accounts, his business accounts, which I had always had viewing access to as his tax preparer, our investment accounts, 3 years of statements, spread across my kitchen table at 2 a.m. while Bobby slept 8 feet away. And what I found, what emerged from those numbers the way a face emerges slowly from a fog, was a withdrawal pattern so deliberate and so consistent that it had its own rhythm. Every month, first Tuesday, between $2,000 and $3,500, pulled in cash from a business account I had reviewed 100 times without ever once questioning the timing. 26 months in a row. I sat at that kitchen table and I did the math. $67,400. Withdrawn in careful, unremarkable increments over just over 2 years. Gone. To somewhere I had no visibility into whatsoever. I did not wake Bobby. I made myself a cup of coffee. And I kept reading. And what I found next, I need you to stay right with me. Because this is where everything split wide open. I have a colleague, a woman named Carol Briggs, who retired from the IRS after 22 years and now consults on financial fraud cases out of Baton Rouge. We have known each other since 2003. I called her at 7 a.m. I said, Carol, I need a second set of eyes. Professionally, not as my friend. She said, send it over. Carol called me back 4 hours later, and when she started talking, I had to sit down on the kitchen floor. She said, Sandra, these withdrawals are structured. Structuring. For those of you who may not know what that means, structuring is the deliberate practice of keeping cash withdrawals just below the federal reporting threshold to avoid triggering a suspicious activity flag at the bank. It is not accidental. It is not a coincidence. It requires knowledge. It requires planning. And it requires someone advising you on exactly how to do it without getting caught. Someone like a woman who spent 30 years as the bookkeeper for a mid-sized Shreveport law firm?
Someone exactly like Beverly Caldwell. Bobby's mama, who called me daughter, who I drove to her cardiologist appointments. That woman had been sitting at Patsy's Cafe every Thursday teaching my husband how to steal from me without leaving a trail. I did not confront Bobby. Not yet. Because here is what 34 years in tax work teaches you. You never confront anyone until your file is complete. You never show your hand before every single card has been turned over. You build the case first. Then you walk into the room. I hired a forensic accountant, a man named Douglas Webb out of Baton Rouge. I told him my husband was a client and I needed a full asset trace. I told him nothing else. I let the numbers talk. Douglas came back to me in 3 weeks. He sat across from me at my office desk with a folder I could tell by the thickness alone was not going to contain good news. He said, "Mrs. Caldwell, I found 4 accounts. 4 accounts. In Bobby's name alone.
Opened over a period of 18 months at 3 different financial institutions across Louisiana. Combined balance at the time of Douglas's report, $21,000. $214,000. That my husband had quietly moved out of our joint financial life and into a shadow financial life, while kissing me on the cheek every Thursday morning and asking if I needed anything from the store on his way home. I sat across from Douglas, and I did not cry. I said, "What else?" He looked at me for a moment. "There are also recurring transfers, monthly, going back 11 years. I said, "Whose name?" Douglas opened the folder, turned it toward me. The name on the account was Donna Lynn Harper. I did not recognize it. I wrote it down anyway. 11 years. The transfers had been going on for 11 years.
Now, I want to stop here for a moment, because I know what you are thinking. You are thinking, Sandra, how did you not fall apart right there in that office? I did fall apart. Just not then. Not in front of Douglas Webb. Not in front of anyone who could report back. I cried until I couldn't anymore. Then I dried my face, went inside, started dinner. And that night, after Bobby went to sleep, I opened my laptop and I looked up Donna Lynn Harper. I drove home, parked in my garage, sat in my car for 45 minutes. And I let myself feel every single thing. The humiliation, the grief, the 31 years of mornings and Christmases and hospital waiting rooms and hand-holding and inside jokes, and the particular intimacy of knowing someone so long you finish their sentences, all of it sitting on my chest at the exact same time. She was 41 years old, lived in Metairie, had a daughter who was 10 years old. I sat very still with that information for a very long time. 10 years old. 11 years of transfers.
I did not need Douglas Webb to explain the arithmetic to me. Bobby had a daughter, a 10-year-old daughter in Metairie, who I had known nothing about for her entire life. And somewhere in the back of my mind, some quiet, professional, 34 years of pattern recognition part of my mind, a thought surfaced. This is why the Thursday lunches were never about food. This is why Beverly knew about the accounts. Because Beverly knew about the child. She had always known.
Now here is where I need you to understand something about how I work. Rage is a feeling. A file is a weapon. And I had been building mine for 3 weeks without Bobby knowing a single thing had changed between us. I called my attorney, Patricia Holloway, family law, 30 years practicing right here in Caddo Parish. I walked into her office with a banker's box, Douglas's full report, 3 years of bank statements, the account information for all 4 hidden accounts, the transfer records to Donna Lynn Harper going back 11 years, complete documentation of the structured withdrawals. I placed it on her desk. Patricia looked at the box. Then she looked at me. How long did it take you to put this together? I said, 3 weeks. She said, have you ever done this kind of thing before? I said, I have been reading other people's financial lives for 34 years. I just never thought I'd have to read my own husband's. Patricia spent 20 minutes going through everything. She looked up and said, Sandra, what Bobby has done here, the structured withdrawals, the hidden accounts, the transfers, this is not just grounds for divorce. This is financial fraud against a marital estate. And depending on what we find about the structuring pattern, there may be federal implications. Federal implications. I had built a tax practice on knowing exactly what those 2 words meant. Bobby had absolutely no idea what was coming. Now, here is the moment I need you to stay with me for. The one that reframes everything that came before it. Patricia filed for divorce on a Wednesday morning. Bobby was served at his office. He called me 4 times before noon. I did not answer once. That evening, he came home, sat across from me at the same kitchen table where I had spread those statements 3 weeks earlier. And he tried. He tried the, I can explain. He tried the, it is not what you think. He tried the, she meant nothing. And then he said something that made the whole room go completely still. He said, my mother told me you would never find it. She said you trusted me too much to ever look. His mother told him I trusted him too much to ever look? They had discussed it. They had calculated it. They had looked at 31 years of my love and decided it was the perfect blind spot to exploit. The woman who called me daughter, who sat at Patsy's Cafe every Thursday for 2 years, had helped her son bet everything on my blind trust. I looked at Bobby for a long moment. And I said, she was wrong. I stood up, walked to my home office, closed the door. I never ate at that kitchen table with Bobby again. Patricia filed a full financial disclosure motion. The hidden accounts were frozen within 72 hours. Bobby's attorney,
a man who had clearly not been briefed on exactly who he was dealing with, submitted financial affidavits that contained 3 separate errors I caught on the very first reading. I flagged every single one in red ink, sent them to Patricia with my detailed notes. His attorney withdrew from the case 2 weeks later. The IRS referral came from Patricia's office after we fully documented the structuring pattern. Federal financial crimes investigators opened a preliminary inquiry. Bobby Ray Caldwell, who sang in the church choir every third Sunday, who made the best smothered pork chops in Caddo Parish, who coached Little League for 12 years and made every parent in that town believe he was one of the good ones, spent 4 months under federal financial review. In the divorce settlement, every hidden account recovered. The full $214,000.
Plus interest calculated from the date of first concealment, plus a significant percentage of the Donna Lynn Harper transfers, classified as dissipation of marital assets. Total settlement in my favor, $340,000. The house on Millicent Drive, with the porch swing I picked out myself. Mine. Bobby moved into a 2-bedroom apartment in Bossier City. The porch swing stays. And Beverly? I have not spoken to that woman since the morning the divorce was filed. She called once, left a voicemail, said she had only ever been trying to protect her son. Protecting her son. By helping him steal from me. By helping him hide a child from me. By sitting across a cafe table from him every Thursday and calculating that my love was the perfect weapon to use against me. I listened to that voicemail one single time. Then I deleted it. Some things do not deserve a response, only a record. And I always keep records.
My boys know everything now. Tyler took 3 weeks to process it. Cody did not speak to his father for 4 months. I did not tell them what to feel. I did not tell them what to do. I raised them to think for themselves, and I was not about to stop at 64. What I told them was this: your father's choices are not a reflection of your worth, and your grandmother's choices are not a reflection of mine. What happened in my marriage is between me and the truth. And the truth is fully documented, tabbed, filed. The way I do everything. I want to tell you what I built from all of this, because survival alone is never the whole story. It is just the beginning of the next chapter. 6 months after the divorce was final, I reopened my tax practice. Not full scale, selective. Specifically, I began taking on clients who had been financially deceived by spouses or family members. People who walked in with a shoebox full of documents and a look on their face I recognized immediately, because I had worn it myself. I charge them a flat fee that covers my costs, nothing more. Because what they need is not just a tax preparer. They need someone who can look at a financial life and tell them exactly where the lie is buried. I have helped 19 women in 2 years find money their husbands thought was permanently gone. 19. I call it the Thursday practice, because every Thursday morning I sit at my desk and I work on their files. I reclaimed the Thursdays, every single one of them. So if you are watching this today and something in your financial life does not quite add up, an account you cannot access, a statement that stopped arriving, income that looks different on paper than it does in your household? Pay attention to that feeling. Numbers do not lie. People lie about numbers. But the numbers themselves, they always tell the truth to anyone who knows how to read them.
You do not have to be a tax preparer. You do not have to understand every single line. You just have to be willing to ask for the statement, to request the document, to say, "Show me." Because the moment you ask to see the numbers is the exact moment the people hiding them start to sweat. Bobby bet on my trust. He should have bet on my education. Drop a comment below and tell me, have you ever trusted someone so completely that it never once occurred to you to verify? And when that trust was broken, what was the moment you finally decided you were worth fighting for? I want to hear from you. Every single one of you. Like this video. Share it with a woman in your life who needs to be reminded that love should never cost you your eyes. Subscribe so you never miss a story on this channel. Because the most dangerous person in any room is the quiet woman in the corner. The one everybody assumed was too trusting to look. The one who has been taking notes. The whole time. Don't forget to read the numbers, baby. They never lie.